Good evening, I am Adventure Argonaut, and this is the Golden News. And we are gonna talk about the news. It's been a while since I had Golden News on the proper day on Tuesday, and it's still technically Tuesday, theoretically, even though it's very late here in Finland, still in Finland. And streaming. See, check in my streams, of course. Everything seems fine. Let's get the chat ready. There, all right, yes, looks good. That one over there, okay. So, and where's my here? So the main story, the one I will be talking about most of the stream is of course the rogue state United States abducting the president of Venezuela, Maduro, whatever his full name is, I don't remember. So let's go have a look then, because I have a bunch of different stories or links to it. So it's just this. It appears that America is invading Venezuela. Is this for the oil or is this for Israel? Why not both? Why not both? That's usually how it happens. So of course, this was, I believe, posted before we knew exactly what the result of the invasion would be. And Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, tweeted this Trump comment: "The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with the U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago, blah, blah, blah." Okay. So yeah, it's interesting they also captured his wife, although perhaps it is to, that might actually be somewhat to protect her or something, because but I don't know what's her crime. What's her alleged crime? Anyway, Nobel Peace Prize winner and opposition leader Marina Corina Machado, we are ready to take over government in Venezuela. So didn't she just get the Nobel Peace Prize and then she dedicated it to Trump or something? But I think the U.S. administration said that they won't be handing over the reins of Venezuela to this woman, though, so maybe she got screwed, maybe she had a deal or something, or she thought she did, and whatever. Well, I'm glad if she doesn't become the leader of Venezuela. So Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima. And Elon Musk said, "Congratulations, President Trump. This is a win for the world and a clear message to evil dictators everywhere." So yeah, speaking of evil dictators, like, how about arresting Netanyahu or something? Because both were on the International Criminal Court's wanted list. But I don't think they're going to be doing this to Netanyahu. And I don't know a great deal about what sort of a leader Maduro actually was. Because it's mostly, the right wing says that he was an evil communist, and the left wing says he was a good and nice socialist, of course. All right, I get some bot comments in my chat, but yeah, it's just some bot crap. Yeah, Elon Musk has no moral compass. Yeah. What's this? Grok, does Venezuela have oil? Yes, Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves, about 303 billion barrels, or 17% of global reserves. Production has been hampered by infrastructure issues, though. So yeah, it's about democracy and stuff, and I do think that saying it's just about oil is simplistic, but I doubt that. I mean, I think that was a factor why the United States decided to do what they did. It's not about democracy and liberation like the United States. No country invades another just for uh, to liberate them, for freedom, for democracy. Like it can be a good side, a byproduct of an invasion, but usually it's because of resources or geopolitical maneuvering, or strategic stuff. That's why wars happen. It's not because of my freedoms or because they hate us for our freedoms, and whoever believes that is like either 12 years old or retarded. So wild how Alex Jones became the very globalist shill he raved against for decades. So Alex Jones said Saturday emergency broadcast powerfully executed blitzkrieg destroyed Venezuela's forces in minutes, clearing the way for Delta Force to capture the dictator Maduro. Watch Trump address the nation live plus blah blah blah. Yeah. The old Alex Jones at least would have pretended to care about, I don't know, some degree of democracy or fairness, law, something like that. Foundering says, when I was watching the police state New World Order Alex Jones documentaries in the mid 2000s, I never would have imagined he would end up pushing neocon regime change war propaganda. So Alex Jones posted video. Millions of Venezuelans flooded the streets of Caracas and other major cities in celebration of the ouster of communist dictator Nicolas Maduro. Even though readers added context, this video is at least 18 months old. So yeah, it's fake news. And some people say Alex Jones is not controlled opposition, like people who have been paying attention knew long before that he is controlled opposition. Doesn't mean that some of his information isn't spot on and stuff, but like he puts a lot of turds in his punch bowls. And Team Pool, the U.S. economy about to boom, tons of free oil heading our way. So yeah, that's the morality of these people who MAGA people, I guess. Because we can do it, we should do it. That's I guess I'm not gonna say it straight out because I might get in trouble, but like Hassan said something about 9/11 that that United States had it coming, and if this is how the Americans see things, if this is their sense of morality, then maybe Hassan wasn't completely crazy. And Catard had said after the invasion, Venezuela is now more free than New York City. But previously he had said, name one US inspired regime change that hasn't ended in absolute disaster. Exactly. Like, I don't think Maduro he probably wasn't the best leader out there, and perhaps he does belong in a jail cell, but that would apply to most politicians and leaders of countries nowadays. So it's I guess then we should get fairness and have Keir Starmer, Netanyahu, Ursula von der Leyen, people like that. They should be in jail cells in oubliettes as well. But for some reason, I don't think United States is gonna declare war on those countries anytime soon. And also, like I don't think Saddam Hussein was necessarily the best person, but I do think Iraq was better off when Saddam Hussein was in charge compared to after he was taken out. Of course, like this invasion, I guess it's impressive that the attack took only a few hours and they managed to extract Maduro. That's it is impressive in technical sense, and also that if it doesn't bog down United States in a prolonged war in Venezuela or anything like that, that's also that's good. Like it's better than having a forever war, but it is still. Is a bit sus. Let's just put it that way. Usury, sodomy, abortion. Oppose this and the USSRA will kill you. Well, they didn't kill Maduro, at least not yet, but yeah. Venezuela President Maduro and Israel, they have sown an ideology more dangerous than Nazism. They justify raids, extermination, genocide, and atomic bombs. They'll come for the Christians, Catholics. This is why he had to go.
Ahora los racistas y supremacistas del sionismo hoy quieren acabar con el pueblo palestino. Y digo más, quieren acabar con todo el pueblo árabe, con todo el pueblo musulmán. Han sembrado una ideología del odio.
Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna play all that, but at least he said something like that. Nick Fuentes was celebrating the operation, acting as though kidnapping the Venezuelan president, now former president, will terrify the nation into handing over the oil. Only to then be shocked that to get the oil, the US would have to run and be responsible for Venezuela. This is why teenage-minded retards like him should never ever speak about geopolitics. Stick to your retarded nation and its retarded people. Retard. Well, I don't think Nick Fuentes is retarded. Like, I don't think his takes are necessarily insightful or smart, but like I think the bigger problem is the retards who lap up stuff that people like Nick Fuentes says. That Fuentes certainly says stuff that gets your attention, and occasionally he said some reasonable and smart things, but other times he's just saying stuff to make himself sound smart or to sound edgy or just to to be polemical and also promote whatever agenda he wants to promote, but he doesn't have any actual principles. Not on the Epstein list. Yeah, Maduro. Yeah, pretty sure he's not on the list. Like, perhaps he is a criminal scumbag, perhaps, but I don't think he's on the Epstein list. So if you're a criminal scumbag, you better be on the list, otherwise you're screwed. So yeah, Tim Pool said the U.S. economy about to boom, free oil coming, and so he's just such a lying fucking weasel, no principles, just like he's got no hair. I like the hair comment or lack thereof. So this is from 2019 what Tim Pool said. Ending private prisons, ending the death penalty, ending regime change war. That's just my 3 top. Yeah, I don't think Trump ended any of them. But has his name also always just been Pool? I for a long time I thought it ends with an E. Is this like some Mandela effect stuff, or maybe it's just, I don't know, I've been mistaken. Venezuelan opposition leader vows Israel alliance if she takes power. Well, now it seems like she's not gonna take power. Last I heard, that is the vice president who is currently in charge. But it's like, nobody can really see what's gonna happen in Venezuela, like 3 months down the line, 6, a couple of years. Like perhaps this will destabilize the situation in unforeseen ways, or perhaps it will be quite stable from now on, with just, United States taking whatever they want from it. It's hard to say, especially somebody who's not an expert on Venezuela, but I am an expert on US foreign policy in some sense, and this is like my main issue isn't the fact that United States does this sort of stuff, but that people defend them. Like the people who aren't in the US government who are defending them, they are the main problem, and they should not be allowed to do what they do. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, "I'm served on the Homeland Security Committee for the past 3 years. I'm 100% for the strong, safe, secure borders and stopping narco-terrorists and cartels from trafficking deadly drugs and human trafficking to America." Oh yeah, I forgot it was supposedly about drugs or something, the invasion. "Fentanyl is responsible for over 70% of US drug overdose deaths, and fentanyl comes from Mexican cartels made with chemical precursors from China and trafficked across the US-Mexico border. Mexican cartels are primarily and overwhelmingly responsible for killing Americans with deadly drugs. If US military action and regime change in Venezuela was really about saving American lives from deadly drugs, then why hasn't Trump admin taken action against Mexican cartels? And if prosecuting narco-terrorists is a high priority, why did President Trump pardon the former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was convicted and sentenced for 45 years for trafficking hundreds of tons of cocaine into America? Ironically, cocaine is the same drug that Venezuela primarily traffics into the US. The next obvious observation is that by removing Maduro, this is a clear move for control over Venezuelan oil supplies that will ensure stability for the next obvious regime change war in Iran. And of course, why is it okay for America to militarily invade Burma and arrest a foreign leader, but Russia is evil for invading Ukraine and China is bad for aggression against Taiwan? Is it only okay if we do it? I'm not endorsing Russia or China. But yeah, according to American patriots, quote unquote, yeah, it's okay when America does it. That's American exceptionalism or something. Regime change funding foreign wars and American tax dollars being consistently funneled to foreign causes. Foreigners, both home and abroad, and foreign governments, while Americans are consistently facing increasing cost of living, housing, healthcare, and learn about scams and fraud for their tax dollars, is what has most Americans enraged. Especially the younger generations, boomers and half of Gen X, will cheer on neocon wars and talking points, but the other half of Gen X and majority on down see through it and hate it. Americans' disgust with our government's never-ending military aggression and support of foreign wars is justified because we are forced to pay for it, and both parties, Republicans and Democrats, always keep the Washington military machine funded and going. This is what many MAGA thought they voted to end. Boy, were we wrong. As the baby boomers slip away in both in votes and power, the electoral future will be decided and candidates for candidates that focus on American economic populism and promising prosperity for Americans only. As of right now, neither party is offering the solution. Oh yeah, and I think it's like basically today, January 6th or 5th or something, when she was supposed to resign from Congress. Because, Trump didn't like her anymore. I wonder whether this Venezuela stuff was one of the reasons why she was forced out. Nick Fuentes says, now that Venezuela has been liberated, we must send every single Venezuelan illegal refugee and criminal back home. Take the oil, remigrate the foreigners. I wonder whether that's gonna happen. Like, at least, you could say that it helps America, even though, see, I'm not the kind of guy that, the way I was raised is that, you should have higher standards for your own people. I'm not American, but looking at this from an American perspective, you'd expect, if the neighbor's kid shoplifts a chocolate bar, that's bad. But if your own kid does it, that's even worse, and you're gonna punish him to teach him that stealing is wrong and all that stuff. But according to these American exceptionalists, that's not how it works. Like if America does something like Marjorie Taylor Greene said, invites another country, that's fine. But China or Russia does it, that's bad. So yeah, their morals are, I guess, completely inverted to how I was raised. Matt Walsh, another shill for the establishment. This is a war for oil, so he's mocking the argument. First of all, the war lasted like 90 minutes. Well, true, so I said that was impressive. I don't know if it's 90 minutes or 3 hours, but something like that. Much less than 24 hours at least. So that is impressive and good, but it is still a war. America committed an act of war against another country. Okay, second, going to war to secure vital resources for your own people is totally legitimate. Why should we allow some third world communist shithole to control trillions of dollars worth of oil? So yeah, stealing is good. This guy is supposedly a Christian, but it's like somebody said that, I think it was in responding to him or somebody like him, that as long as you don't like the guy you're stealing from, it's okay to steal. I guess that's the moral of the story here. Asmongold said, after the absolute blowout in Venezuela and previously with Iran, it becomes increasingly clear that the 20-year war in Middle East was by design. I think that's surprisingly observant from Asmongold. Because yeah, he's probably onto something there. Venezuelan migrants can apply to become refugees in the United States per DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Noem removed temporary protected status for Venezuelans, but she did state that Venezuelans can now apply for refugee status. However, according to law, only Venezuelans currently abroad may apply for refugee status, and DHS set a 7,500 cap on refugees for 2026. Okay, I guess that's a reasonable cap. Let's see if it holds, or whether there's gonna be trillion Venezuelans in America, and they won't be official refugees, but something different. Don't know. Let's see. So Maduro on the Iwo Jima. Okay, this is just, I showed that already. Trump has launched more wars than any former US president. This is after he ran being an anti-war campaign. So Trump becomes first president to bomb 8 countries in 1 year. So Iran, Iraq, Nigeria, Palestine, Somalia, Syria, Venezuela, Yemen. Okay, I guess I'm gonna assume they're correct and there's no community note or anything. So yeah, but certainly Trump is like, I was disappointed with Trump during his first term because he didn't drain the swamp, anything like that. But at least he didn't really escalate any of the war. So I was mildly pleased with him. But he has done a complete 180 or 360 and walk away since then, like his second term. Like, the mask is off and it shows a big, long, ugly nose. Owen Schreier says, we had to do it. He was killing people with drugs. Oh, cool. Now do Big Pharma and the COVID vaccines. Yeah, exactly. You could convince me that, okay, perhaps it is good, like the way America is now doing, just openly abducting the leaders of foreign countries and democratically, whether it's fair democratically, but hey, United States previous president wasn't fairly elected either. But yeah, if that's how US does things nowadays, like, okay, perhaps it could work, but then how about making sure that the actual bad guys also go to jail? And like, yeah, like, big pharma is good point. Like, even before the pandemic, Pfizer had like the biggest criminal penalties ever it had to pay for its crimes. And interestingly, that the corporation still was allowed to persist, because if I was the king, I would have done corporate death penalty, because corporations are people too, and it should have been executed for its crimes. But of course Trump isn't gonna do that because he likes the jab and all that stuff. Crazy how we can kidnap Maduro and his wife and to stand trial in the US, but Trump and co can't get a single meaningful arrest for COVID, voter fraud, Russia hoax, or yeah, even the voter fraud, which affected Trump himself. And now I'm really starting to feel like, the whole 2020 presidential election, that it was sort of fixed between Trump and Biden, that it wasn't even like, that he allowed it to be stolen. But anyway, so yeah, voter fraud, Russia hoax, Epstein, Benghazi, J6, Biden corruption, Clinton corruption, Obama corruption, or literally anything. Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess you can make the argument that, if you're a red-blooded American, that, arresting this socialist dictator is a good thing, like, okay, or you're MAGA, but how about, yeah, any of this stuff, like Epstein people, anything like this? Like, no, Trump cannot do anything like this, but, it's like, this makes only sense if you only focus on this one issue, like Maduro bad, and then okay, let's get rid of Maduro. But like, when it comes to geopolitics, you're supposed to look around, like, it's a um, ecosystem. You're not just supposed to, like, look at, like, let's say you have an ecosystem with tigers in it and a bunch of other animals, like, oh my god, these tigers, they do bad stuff, okay, let's get rid of all the tigers and assume that the ecosystem will be fine. But it's likely that removing the tigers from the ecosystem would create other problems. But you're not supposed to think like that, according to these political pundits. So yeah, what we should have done, yeah, arrest Netanyahu, exactly. I don't think he's the only one in Israel who deserves such a fate, but certainly he should be arrested. If America cares about freedoms or whatever, they should certainly arrest Netanyahu and Keir Starmer and a bunch of other people. Nat Rothschild, or is it Nathaniel Rothschild, said, well done, Donald J. Trump. So, Math says, the Rothschilds seem to be happy with Trump, almost like he served their interests. Yeah, it's like sort of case closed, basically. And yes, Venezuela libre. So, of course, he's talking about Venezuela. Thomas Massey says, if this action were constitutionally sound, the Attorney General wouldn't be tweeting that they arrested the president of a sovereign country and his wife for possessing guns in violation of a 1934 U.S. firearm law. What? Okay, I didn't see this tweet, but it sounds ridiculous. He had permission from Netanyahu, so who needs Congress? Yeah. So why did the Jews want to take out Maduro? Maduro, long live free Palestine. Oh, that's why.
Viva Palestina libre.
Viva Palestina libre. Yeah. Dr. Simon Godek says, also surprised how quiet China and Russia were after the US removed Maduro. Yeah, I think they made some, official condemnation, but didn't really say much as far as I know. So hardly any outrage, hardly any condemnation. So here's my theory. There was a trade-off. The US takes Venezuela's resources. Russia gets a big part of Ukraine, and China gets Taiwan. Bookmark this. So I bookmarked this. So let's see whether he's correct about this or not. I'm not saying he is, but there's a kind of a logic to it at least. So I do think it makes sense, but whether it's what's gonna happen, I can't say. Holy cow, Colombian President Gustavo Petro just went after Trump. A clan of pedophiles want to destroy our democracy. To keep Epstein's list from coming out, they sent warships to kill fishermen and threaten our neighbor with invasion for their oil. Sounds accurate. Like, I don't know much about Gustavo Petro, like what sort of, how he is running his country, whether he's another scumbag like Trump or actually a bit better person, but he's not wrong here. Tulsi Gabbard tweeted in 2019, "It's about the oil again. Bolton just exposed the real motive for intervention in Venezuela. We are in conversation with major American companies now. It would make difference if we could have American companies produce the oil in Venezuela. So why are you silent now?" Yeah. She's also changed her tune quite a bit, I guess. I think I saw some tweet from her like saying that she's basically fine with what happened, but I'm not sure if I misread it or misremember or something. The man said to benefit the most from any deal on Venezuela's oil is disaster capitalist Paul Singer with his Elliott Management Investment Fund. Singer has a history of closing factories and destroying Midwest US towns. So, well, and yes, he's Jewish. Paul Singer, though, through his firm Elliott Management, is deeply involved with Venezuela's debt crisis, famously pursuing full repayment from the country for defaulted bonds, leading to legal battles, and most recently, court-mandated auction where Elliott's entity Amber Energy won the right to buy. Yeah, who benefits? Orthodox Jewish Judge Alvin Hellerstein to preside over Maduro case in Manhattan. 92-year-old senior judge and Orthodox Jew will oversee the high-profile Manhattan prosecution of the Venezuelan leader, a longtime ally of Iran who has repeatedly attacked Israel and Zionism. Yeah, really doesn't get much more in your face than this. Yeah. You wouldn't steal a president. Okay, I think that's funny. It's of course a spoof on the old anti-piracy ad. You wouldn't steal a car. Piracy is stealing, but like, okay, I guess if you put it like that, maybe I would steal a president if I could. J.D. Vance, you see a lot of claims that Venezuela has nothing to do with drugs because most of fentanyl comes from elsewhere. I want to address this. First off, fentanyl isn't the only drug in the world, and blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. So massive response. It's not American oil, it's Venezuelan oil. Oil companies entered into risk deals to develop oil, and the deals were cancelled by a prior Venezuelan government. What's happening? Lives of US soldiers are being risked to make those oil companies, not Americans, more profitable. There's this quote from George Carlin that, United States is an oil company with an army. And nowadays it's not fashionable to like George Carlin, but I guess that comment was spot on. And this is US Department of Labor. Patriots are in control. We're never giving up our fight to put America first. So what, are they Q posting? Are they... I don't know. I have gonna need gonna question that. Charlie Kirk said a few months before he was shot, "No, I've said repeatedly for 2 weeks straight I'm against any form of top-down US-led regime change. I'm curious what MAGA thinks, hence the poll." So, okay, this is about Iran. All right. But yeah, so I guess he would have been against the Venezuela regime change too. Donald Trump, the incredible people of Kentucky's 4th congressional district who want to desperately get rid of Massey, the worst Republican congressman we have had any in many years, blah blah blah. So Massey just responds, I ain't reading all of that. I'm happy for you though, or sorry that happened. It's a meme, but I guess he's used it quite appropriately because there's lots of blah blah blah. I wouldn't want to read it anyways. Let's just have a listen of this.
Look at the implications here are really great for the Venezuelan people. 27 years if you package together Chavez and Maduro. Think about that.
So yeah, he said they almost said the quiet part out loud. Like, I don't know who this guy is, but it's good for Israel. No, oh, I mean Venezuela. Yeah. Almost think that he did it deliberately. But yeah, I don't know who he is. So Elon Musk had a lovely dinner last night with POTUS and FLOTUS. 2026 is gonna be amazing. And then Kim.com. Really? So Elon Musk tweeted this last June. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Donald Trump. So yeah. So does that mean that now Elon Musk is also in the files because he's having a nice dinners with Donald Trump? Or like really, what did Musk mean by this? Does it mean that he knew that Trump is in the files, or he sort of suspected he's in the files, or was he just angry at Trump and he made it up? Well, now it seems he was probably right about that, but maybe he didn't expect that he would be right about that. Nick comes out as a neocon. So Fuentes said, I have literally never said no more foreign conflicts. I support US empire. I always support the Monroe Doctrine. I support hemispheric defense. I always have. So yeah, take the Western Hemisphere is ours. But yeah, his supporters in Discord are not very happy with this, I guess. I guess that's sort of a white pill that they aren't completely brainwashed cultists. But I've been saying for a while that Fuentes has been promoted by the establishment as the anti-establishment spokesperson for a reason, because he's not an actual leader who's gonna lead to dismantling of the current establishment. He's just gonna sell you his snake oil and hope you bite. Sneeko said, if a brown country invaded America to bomb DC and kidnap the president for the sole purpose of stealing her oil, we would rightfully call them terrorists. When Americans do it, it's called colonialism. Matt Walsh says this is the level of retarded sub-70 IQ commentary that has taken over some factions of the right. No brown country on earth would be capable of doing what this idiot describes. Is this subtle way of being a 9/11 truther that Al-Qaeda and Afghanistan or whatever, they couldn't have done it? And yes, we're in favor of America exerting its power to advance its interests, but we're not in favor of other countries advancing their interests at our expense. Wow, you got us, what an insight. Just because we're Americans, we actually love our country and want it to succeed, unlike this guy. No, it's like, once again, let's get back to the spare the rod to spoil the child. Like, if you love America, you want America to be moral. I'm not saying be stupidly naive or anything. But I don't know, this sort of thievery isn't very loving in my opinion. And also to point out, America, hasn't it been invaded by a bunch of brown countries? Not as a strict military invasion, but their borders have been open, and they're, Somalis running around in Minnesota and a bunch of South American undocumented immigrants here and there, or like, same goes to like, European countries. UK, they had a Muslim, like London had Muslim or mayor, or is he still there? And Indian prime minister, and all these, grooming gangs and stuff. So you could say that these invasions of white Western countries have happened. It's not in the same exact military manner as this assault on Venezuela, but certainly it has happened. And then this guy responded, Matt Walsh, from just last summer. We've spent the last 25 years bringing freedom and democracy to countries around the globe, while our own country has been systematically invaded, and now our largest cities are run by foreigners and communists. If you want to know why I'm so avowedly non-interventionist, this is why. Well, people are allowed to change their mind. Well, that's true, but like somebody as weak and flip-floppy, just assuming that this guy believes anything he even says. Although personally, I just think he's a paid shill. He says stuff that his paymasters tell him to say, but assuming, giving him some degree of credibility that he actually believes this bullshit, then he's just not very smart. He's not very astute. He's not very principled. So I don't understand why people would listen to him, because that's all he does, like for his job, says shit online. Community noted bitches. So what's Homeland Security? This is not what Secretary Noem said. President Trump is bringing stability to Venezuela and bringing to justice an illegitimate narco-terrorist dictator who stole from his own people. Secretary Noem ended temporary protected status for more than 500,000 Venezuelans, and now. So the community note says, contrary to this post, Secretary Noem stated on Fox News Sunday that every individual under GPS has the opportunity to apply for refugee status, a clip of which was reposted by the White House Rapid Response account. Okay. You can literally show Groyper's evidence that Nick Fuentes is a flip-flopping political chameleon with no consistent beliefs, and they'll just go, nuh-uh. So what happened to this? Fuentes doesn't show when he said this, but some time ago, I presume. I have my reasons for supporting Putin, but a good heuristic is to simply support the opposite of what the US State Department wants. It's not good to shill for the State Department, but now he's shilling for the State Department. So yeah, I wonder what happened. So why the sudden change of heart? Fuentes Golden Age update from just a few months ago. Regime change in Venezuela, pardon for Netanyahu, authorized Ukrainian strikes in Russia, threatened to bomb Hamas, CBS and TikTok brought by Zionist Jews, 500% tariff on China, imminent recession, happy Diwali, no mass deportation. So he's criticizing Trump here. In the last week, Trump called to reinvade Afghanistan, about to help Ukraine defeat Russia, and is currently pushing for regime change in Venezuela. It's only a matter of time before Israel drags us to war against Iran again. What happened to no new wars? Yeah, but now he's all for it. America's high-pressure regime change campaign against Venezuela has caused an influx of Venezuelan migrants in the U.S. According to John Bolton, they did this by design. So yeah. See, these people have no principles. No, they're in it for their ego or for the money, or Well, basically because somebody pays them to push disinfo and like, and if you listen to people like Nick Fuentes, like, seriously, there's something wrong. You should re-examine your beliefs. I guess that's like, certainly you can listen to what he says, but like, don't take him seriously as some sort of leader, since he's not. So why was Maduro in different outfits? This is political theater. So yeah, in less than 24 hours, he had like many different outfits that they put him into, and also he doesn't seem very unhappy about his arrest and stuff. So I don't know what's going on. Maduro is mugging the US State Department in captivity. This is the first impression a lot of Americans will have of him. He's certainly not coming across like an evil dictator. Well, that's true. He seems like a nice guy in this picture. He's more likable than our own president, plus he's not in Epstein files. Every day more people wake up to how laughably retarded our government and media is, to the point where literal elite pedophiles are able to treat a bus driver like he's the criminal. Is he a former bus driver? I don't know. Yeah, 4 outfits, 17 hours, totally organic, totally real. Oh, 17 hours. Q. Oh my God, it's real. So I don't know, maybe there is a completely legitimate reason. Like, okay, this jacket seems sort of like the same jacket, but it's just open and closed. Maybe not. I'm not quite. But like, there might be a very legit reason for different clothing for him, but I guess it's still sort of weird. And over 100 people died in Venezuela. Nothing to celebrate as a success. Why do you conveniently ignore the thousands upon thousands of people murdered under Chavez and Maduro? Those lives simply do not matter to you. Okay, so, well, first of all, yeah, I really don't know whether it's propaganda or what about this, And well, Chavez is dead, so whatever Chavez did, but Maduro, yeah, he's. Okay, how about like, well, if we wanna go there, then yeah, yes, we should arrest Donald Trump too now, but like, Obama, George W. Bush, Netanyahu, why is it only Maduro then? Like, if you're really gonna put all of these presidents, make them pay for their crimes and stuff and their establishments or what the military's done or whatever, like, then I doubt this guy is advocating for the arrest of George W. Bush or Netanyahu or something like that. It's only because like it's easy to support something that's already happened. It can make you feel more powerful because like I'm with the winners. Okay. NATO is done if Trump invades Greenland, Danish Prime Minister warns. So yeah, now I'm hoping for US to invade Greenland. Just, do a quick assault like in Venezuela. It takes few hours and then dissolve NATO. I would love that. Please do that. Otherwise, I don't want America to take Greenland, but because it's going to become gay land after if they do that. But hey, if we can get rid of NATO, that would be peachy. Americans, we have a Zionist-occupied government. Grr. We're being white genocided. Woohoo! Also Americans, you're next, Canada. Watch your backs, Eurococks. The world is ours. Let's take all of South America. Hoorah! They seem biologically incapable of thinking this through. Yeah. Yeah, I've also noticed this. This is a very good observation. That is like they're incapable of looking at many different moving components, sort of like, the ecosystem. They can only focus on few small things and not look at the whole ecosystem. It's like, yeah, so is America super strong and super great and whatever America does benefits Americans, or are they Well, of course, some people wouldn't even say that they are a Zionist occupied government because they just, they're completely clueless. But yeah. Maduro court transcript. Judge, are you Nicolas Maduro Moros? Maduro, I am president of Venezuela. I consider myself a prisoner of war. I was captured at my home in Caracas. Judge, let me intervene. There will be time for this. I only want to know, are you Nicolas Maduro Moros? Maduro, yes. Judge, have you been served the indictment? Defense lawyer, we waive the public reading. Maduro, I have it in my hands for the first time. I prefer to read it personally. Judge, anything you say may be used against you. I see you have counsel here, Mr. Pollack. If you cannot afford one, the government will provide a lawyer free of charge. Did you know these rights? Maduro, I didn't know these rights until now. Judge, how do you plead? Maduro, I am innocent. I'm a decent man. I'm president of Venezuela. Defense lawyer, the plea is not guilty on all counts. Isn't this weird? Like, he's the president of a foreign country, and then he gets abducted. A couple of days later, he's just treated like a common criminal. Like, this is why they have like some international criminal courts, and I'm not saying that they're always fair either, or I don't think that's the case, but still it's just weird. Like, he's treated like he's just some drug dealer or something. Just so weird. Like, it's not even clown world. It's like, what the fuck is going on kind of world. Okay, but that's the last Maduro stuff for now. So I don't know. This is, well, like, I guess the biggest positive about this is I think it's sort of making lots of people like reveal their true nature, whether they're unquestioningly just accepting it. And like I said, like, I'm not dismissing it out of hand that it violates international law or anything. Like, yeah, that's a weak argument. That's something that Fuentes sort of pointed out, that but it's like, okay, if they're gonna start violating international law, how about getting rid of actual criminals, or actual people who harm white people or whatever. Like, if Fuentes is supposedly some sort of pro-white guy, which he certainly isn't, but he claims to be. Like, how about Keir Starmer or Netanyahu, people like that, or these, like some guy here pointed out some pharma shills and all that. Like, no. But okay, let's move on to other stories. So 72 vaccines for the kids in America, or maybe they're gonna like start getting rid of that. Some random vax news here. No vax for HIV after 40 years of research. No vax for cancer after more than 100 years of research. No vax for the common cold, and yet a virus mysteriously appears, and within 12 months a vax is found by 4 pharma companies, all within 1 week. And we are all mandated to take it. Yeah. This is a very good point, and also vast majority of the Western world just took it without asking these questions. This quite like, I've never been able to formulate the thoughts, like put them into words this succinctly as this guy. But certainly, like, yeah, it seemed very sus to me since day one. I guess we can also reload this. So yeah, wait, Americans were getting 72 vaccines as kids, WTF. So Trump announces new childhood vaccination schedule. Trump says American children are no longer required to receive 75 jabs, reducing recommendation to just 11 vaccines. I'm not going to read all that, but European country 11 injections, United States 72 injections. Yeah, maybe this says something about why Americans are the way they are. But although, I'm not saying Europeans are much better. I regularly complain about Europeans as well. Contemporary Europeans, there's something certainly wrong with them as well. But is it in Islam, if you're a good Muslim, you go to heaven, you get 72 virgins? Is it 72 or 74? I don't know. So is it like you actually get 72 injections? I don't know. All right, but that's all I have about the vax stuff. But yeah, I guess we shouldn't forget, like, most of the normies, that they seem very eager to forget all about the deadliest pandemic known to man, and how the cure was worse than the disease. But like, we shouldn't, because they're gonna try something like that again unless we put them in oubliettes. And then 10 people jailed for Queen Macron because they cyberbully her, in quotation marks, because I still don't know, because I'm waiting for the Candice Owens lawsuit to determine whether Brigitte Macron truly is a woman or a man or something, because personally I don't know whether this being is a human. So 10 people sentenced to 8 months in prison in France for claiming Macron's wife is a man. Thoughts? Is this person a man? Okay, let's see this. BBC, what did BBC say? 10 found guilty of cyberbullying Brigitte Macron. This is like, see, I think this sentence disproves the French Revolution, that it should have happened, because it's like, supposedly the aristocrats, the royalty, were abusive and self-centered and stuff, but it's like, and now they have democracy and things are better, but now she, quote unquote, is behaving like a spoiled aristocrat or something. Or I shouldn't use the word aristocrat, because aristocrat means, like, ruled by the best, and I don't think these are the best. It's a kakistocrat. So 10 people have been found guilty of cyberbullying Brigitte Macron, the wife of French President Emmanuel Macron, by Paris court. Defendants were accused of spreading false claims about her gender and sexuality, as well as making malicious remarks about the 24-year age gap between the couple. Is that now illegal to make malicious remarks about an age gap between two adult people? Most of the defendants were handed suspended prison sentences of up to 8 months, but one was jailed immediately for failing to attend court. Some had their social media accounts suspended. Okay, that makes me think like they were onto something. You don't cut a man's tongue off if you think he's a liar, or however the quote went. The judge said the 8 men and 2 women had acted with clear desire to harm Brigitte Macron, making remarks online that were degrading and insulting. So is that illegal in France? How about, like, if somebody insults me? I should start saying really retarded stuff online, and when people insult me, then sue them? Is that how it works? 2 defendants, self-styled independent journalist Natasha Ray and internet fortune teller Amandine Roy, were found guilty of slander in 2024 for claiming that France's first lady had never existed. What? They said her brother Jean-Michel Drogneux had changed gender and started using her name. They were later cleared on appeal. The argument used by the appeals court in clearing them was that saying someone had changed gender was not necessarily an attack on their honor. Yeah, sounds very transphobic to see it as an attack. Macrons are now taking the case to the High Court of Appeal Most important things are the prevention of causes, suspension of some of the whatever. I'm not going to read all of that stuff, but it's like whatever the truth about Brigitte Macron's gender is, this isn't. I don't think people should be punished in this manner for saying their opinion. Like, I guess freedom of speech doesn't mean anything anymore to anybody. But I think that's all we have now about that stuff. What a folks. Let's go to Israel del Ende Est. Israel has to be destroyed for, any kind of sanity or stability in the world. And of course, talking about the political entity. And well, we don't have much here either because, well, Venezuela stuff is more or less related to Israel as well. As I pointed some details out. So Israel bombs Lebanon on Mondays and Thursdays. Israel bombs Syria on Wednesdays. Israel bombs Palestine the rest of the week. I don't know if it's literally they have those schedules for bombing, or I guess I assume it's not literally meant, but it's like basically. Only Israel can bomb 3 countries and still be perceived as the victim. Yeah. We should never forget about Israel and it being the main reason, or at least one of the most obvious main reasons why the world is so fucked right now. That their blackmailing network and all that stuff. And Epstein network, they're related. Venezuela's situation isn't even really about oil. It's about Venezuela not recognizing Israel as a state and having friendly ties with Iran. Always remember Trump's law. Everything he does is for the Jews. And this is from December of last year, so like a few weeks ago, before the ousting of Maduro. Venezuela cuts ties with Israel over Gaza attacks. This is 2009, yeah. So Venezuela has done. See, that stuff like this makes me question the claims that Maduro was this evil dictator that butchered his own people. Not saying he was a saint or anything, but I'm just, they better prove that he was a nasty person. I'm not gonna take their word for it. So there's a cool feature. I haven't tried it, so I have to check it out at some point. So create task, slur of the day, frequency daily, time 10 or 10 a.m. Grok, create a new slur of the day. Lean towards racial slurs, both wide and for large swaths, and deep for specific racial subcategories. Tell me what category it pertains to. Give an explanation of the slur. Use the slur in a sentence. Interesting. Can get creative with this if it works. I think now it's time for it's time for entertainment, gaming, and all that stuff. Entertainment and gaming news, crap like that. Not so many stories this time. Microsoft just renamed Office to Microsoft 360 Copilot app. 400 million users just became AI users overnight. I really fucking hate the word Copilot. Like, I've seen this Parasite logo on like Notepad and stuff, and I fucking hate it. And it's like Copilot, like it's not a freaking airplane. Like the person who came up with this, like they deserve to be fired out of a cannon into the sun. Like how can you name these things so badly? Like corporate naming isn't the best, but like that's some of the worst ever. I fucking despise it. Okay, let's see what else. And Google Docs now show words left until AI replaces you. Only 893 words left. When you finish, we'll make an AI that writes just like you. Is this a joke? I presume it's some sort of joke. Can you consent out of it? Like, I'm so happy I don't use current versions of Microsoft Word. Okay, let's go here to Resident Evil news. Edward Badaluza, Romanian model who serves as the face model for Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil, is being accused of supporting fascism, transphobia, and racism based on Instagram reels he has liked or reposted. Would you still be happy for him to continue in the role? Like, seriously, is that supposed to be a bad thing in 2026? Like, I'm not a fascist, but like, you know, let's say if I had to choose between a fascist, a communist, a transgender, or a MAGA supporter to babysit my kid, like, the fascist might be one of the better options. Like, especially like, nowadays the term itself has been very diluted because everybody, if you support freedom of speech nowadays, you're a fascist. That's how it basically works. So yeah, I just hope he has a long and prosperous career then, if he's a fascist, quote unquote. Oh yeah, Anthem will be completely unplayable after January 12th. So it's just like 5 days away. Well, I thought it was unplayable since the day it was released. I've never played it, but never had any really inclination to do so. But now it's gonna be in a few days. We only have like less than a week to play it. Let's everybody go buy it and play together. Oh wait, you can't. Anthem is shutting down for good in a week, so I thought I'd play one more time. The EA app won't even let me download it, even though I own it. So here it says, Anthem Legion of Dawn Edition owned. You don't have access. We've cancelled the download because you don't own this game. To play, go to the Game Hub and to get the game. So this is just theft, right? But hey, it's an American company, EA, so theft is right, like we learned from Trump and his administration in Venezuela and all that. So don't be a bigot, and that's proud American tradition to steal stuff that you own, that you paid for. Luke Stephens here also says, as others have also reported, EA won't let me download Anthem even though it shuts down a week from now. No last hurrah, I guess. Crazy that I bought the game and can't even download it while it's still allegedly alive. Yeah, so how the fuck is this legal? Like, America really is a rogue state, not just when it comes to geopolitics and stuff, but like even basic ownership. And hey, I'm not saying the rest of the world is some freaking paradise, but it's like, I thought America would be the country that cares about ownership of your own property, but I guess that's not the case. Oh yeah, and then I generated this. This is Roscott, Stop Killing Games. Put on a Halo because he's the saint of gaming and he has an executioner's axe. I sort of like this grok generated image of him. Like, of course, it could be much more creative in many different ways, but I didn't want to make it too complicated because the more factors, the more likelihood that it's either going to be censored or just grok is going to fuck up. But yeah, because he talked about Anthem before he stopped killing games. He's been talking about this for almost a decade. That he's opposes killing of games, and that's why I name him the saint of gaming. And yeah, Anthem probably wasn't a good game, but still, yeah, I would like people to be able to play it a decade or a century from now, or Concord or any of these shitty games. And breaking Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Siege compromised again. Hackers accessed internal tools, issuing 67-day harassment bans to players and streamers. Current status: global outages across PC, PS4, 5 and Xbox. No official Ubisoft statement on this breach. Rollbacks expected. And Rainbow Six has been hacked for the third time. Hackers in Rainbow Six can now ban you and type custom messages right into your game. Ubisoft is fucked. So kudos, smell, snuffles. Uwu or meow to play the game. This is funny. See, that's one great thing about having old games that don't have to go online, so you can play them. I have a bunch of old PlayStation 1 and 2 games. As long as the disc works, I can play it, or even, if I can download the ROM from online, I can emulate them and stuff. Good times. Okay, so this is a weird story. AI generated isekai novel, lackluster skill, Keep It Tidy is the strongest, won the grand prize and reader award for the 18th Fantasy Awards for Alpha Police. Red novel and manga adaptation were cancelled soon after. So Chibi Reviews summarizes. AI novel wins multiple awards because people enjoyed it. People find out it's AI and shortly after it gets cancelled. So I wonder, how was AI used in it? Like, was the whole thing generated? Like, what did somebody just write into ChatGPT, create me a manga about with this theme, and then it came out? Or is it like, is the art AI generated, but the story is human made, or what? Because if it's just that the art is AI generated, I think that's fine. I guess it's good to like say it out loud in advance, but because I think AI could, if there's people with a great story in their mind, but they don't have the resources or the skills to draw pictures or, film movies, they can use AI to tell their stories in different ways. But of course, like if the whole story is AI generated, I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, but it's probably gonna suck. And I think it says something about the people who get triggered over finding it's AI, that they have no taste. That's how it sounds like to me. But I guess I still have to reserve such judgment because I don't know in what sense was AI used in it. But like if the whole story was AI generated and people thought, "Ooh, this is great," and then they found out, no, it's AI, and then they suddenly changed their minds. I think it says something about the people. Was this? Disney has reportedly chosen Dave Filoni as the new head of Lucasfilm, replacing Kathleen Kennedy. Of course, it is still just reportedly, so I don't know if this is actually happening or not, but it's like, who cares at this point? Like, if it happened maybe 5 years ago, might have been interesting or worth something, but now it's like, sure. It's like, Star Wars. I still have like, certain degree of nostalgia for the, 3 original Star Wars movies, because just when I was a kid, I really loved them, because before there was any other Star Wars crap out there, and they were great. But of course, since then, both the prequels and the sequels have really ruined my interest in Star Wars. But still, there's this small glimmer, this childhood wonder that they haven't been able to eradicate completely. But like, and hello, hello. My suddenly computer is lagging. It doesn't want to listen to me ramble on, old fart that I am. But yeah, it's like now the only joy about Star Wars is seeing it crumble, because there's been violated in such a way. Anyway, Persona Metaphor director says Atlas RPGs must attract a wider audience. Yeah, sounds like they want to, lose their audience. I believe that the audience Persona games have are quite wide right now, but if they start to attract wider audience, the current audience is probably gonna abandon it. But hey, if that's what you want, knock yourselves out. The only Persona game I've played is the first one, and I didn't really like it. It wasn't terrible, but like at least in current year. Maybe if I played it, 30 years ago, I would have felt differently, but I didn't like it when I streamed it. Was it last year? I do believe so. This one. But that's the last story of the day. So I don't know. I am still intrigued on the whole Venezuela, like what's the aftermath gonna be, both for Venezuela, what's gonna happen with the country, and how are, I don't know, like people's battle lines drawn over it, like, who will excuse it, who will celebrate it, and who will condemn it, or at least, I guess for me it's the hypocrisy, like, I wouldn't mind so much breaking the rules if the end result was ever anything good, but it never seems to be. But with that, gonna go. I'm Adventure Argonaut. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.